I love it when fantasy books come with maps. This is a gold star for this. I love this. So I read a book. Actually, I read lots of books. But I have decided that I should review the books that I read, because why not? So today, we're doing a cosplay book review. Probably thinking, Leisha, what's with the costume? For those who aren't new to my channel, I do a thing called cosplay reviews, where I review things in cosplay. And today I am cosplaying Nikki from Infinity Nikki. I couldn't put, it's mainly because I couldn't be stuffed doing any other cosplay, and I was actually going to do this review in my George Russell cosplay, but I cannot find the wig because I didn't put it away properly and my room's a mess. So, we love that. Today, if my screen wants to turn on, hello, screen, thank you. Today we are reviewing The Hurricane Wars by Thea. I'm so sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I was given this book for my birthday by my wonderful friend Emma. Thank you, Emma. So we're going to review this. I'm going to give a quick non-spoiler description, and then the rest of the video will be spoilers. So just be aware of that. This is going to also be a PG review because the book isn't so PG. Actually, there's only really one chapter that isn't really, I would class as not PG. Well, maybe one chapter in a bit, but we'll get to that in the review. So, pretty much, I'm going to read. Essentially this is from what I can gather, a romantasy book. So romance fantasy. It claims that it is a enemies to lovers, which I have opinions about that. I love good old enemies to lovers. I love rivals to lovers. And I love romantasy. I also personally prefer clean romantasy. Because I am a Christian, and I'd rather not know what people do in the bed. That is not something I personally like to know about. What you do in your private time, you do in your private time. I don't need to know. No thank you. But that also comes down to the fact that that sort of stuff kind of makes me feel uncomfortable. Thank you, Emma, for the book. She did not realize that there was spice in this. So don't feel bad, Emma. I also want to clarify, I did discover that The Hurricane Wars is on Spotify audiobook, and because I have Spotify Premium, I read some of the book, but I ended up actually listening to most of it. So, I can't necessarily say I actually read it. I don't know if listening to it made it even better when it came to that one chapter, but yes. Anyway, to the synopsis of the book. It is essentially about a light weaver named Taliesin? I'm trying to remember how to pronounce their names. Taliesin and the Shadow Gate user Alaric. So it's light versus dark. Which you can see where the enemies to lovers comes in. Reading the synopsis from Goodreads, so I've got the Goodreads website, so I'm reading that from there. So essentially, it's about a girl named Taliesin who was Taliesin. It's Taliesin. She was a light weaver for the Sidovian army, stuck in a 2-decade-long war. I think it was 20 years or 10 years or something war with the Night Empire over some stuff. And she pretty much has to do what she can to try and stop, but then things happen. She discovers secrets about herself that she doesn't know, and then she and Alaric, the prince of the Night Empire, are then forced to have to somewhat work together against their will. Because, yeah. I have not read, there is a second book in the series I have not read yet. But yeah, so there is 3, I think that's roughly the main thing of the non-spoilers. But with the spoilers, This is also definitely an adult book. I would definitely not describe this as young fiction. This is definitely adult. Young fiction? Young adult. This is not young adult. Not young adult. I normally read young adult. But I would probably give this book, to start off with, I would probably give it about a 6 or 7 out of 10. There are some things that I liked about this book, and there's some things that I'm like, no, we need to talk about. Anyways, first things first, we're gonna get into talking about the world building, because I love world building. It is one of my favorite things. I do so much world building in my spare time. I'm attempting to write my own books, but I get to the world building part, all good, and then I get past that, and it's like, I've actually got to write this. But yeah, there is 3, if my computer wants to turn on, because I will need that at some point for the names. There is 3 main kingdoms, or places. The book does come with the map. I love it when fantasy books come with maps. This is a gold star for this. I love this. So we've got, I think the 9 Empires down here. There's Sardovia, I think, is down here, and then we've got the islands for the Nineveh Dominion. I think that's how you say it. So there's 3 main like countries, continents, kingdoms that play in this book. The Nineveh Dominion, the Sardovian Dominion, and the 9 Empire. And with the world building around, I'm never gonna ever have a cosplay reviews when my wig just wants to stay still. I actually really think the world building is, I like it. It's they've done really well with explaining in the book on, I keep looking to the book, so I'm gonna bring the book over here so I can look to the book down here. They do really well with the world building in sense that it answers questions about, I think I don't have much questions about the world building. It explains all about like the light weavers and the crystal stuff. I forgot what the crystal stuff was that they use. What's it called? The Aether Hearts, that's what they're called. And the fact that they have to use them. It explains like the war and why there's a war and all of that. World building, great. It's probably one of the main things that gives it a high rating, is my love for world building and the way that it explains it and the way it dives me deeper into, well, I don't have many questions about it, but like, what I mean by I don't have many questions about it, I mean like they don't leave me puzzling questions like what the hell is going on. But it does give me more questions of like, I want to delve deeper into this world. I want to learn more about like secondary characters. I want to learn more about certain customs and certain like what like day-to-day life is in like some of the islands in the Nineveh area. What was Sardovia like before the war? That sort of thing. I would love to dive deep into more of that. So yeah. Okay, next we've got the characters. Now, in terms of character building, there was a few characters I really enjoyed, and then some that I'm like, I don't like this person. Elugby is Talison's father. As we go on to learn in the story, Taliesin is secretly the long-lost princess of the Nineveh Dominion, and she ends up having to take her role up in place there. And Elugby is her father. I like Elugby. He's cool. He's like one of my favorite characters. So he's Elugby. Yes. My least favorite character, Gaheris. It's the father versus father, because I know Gaheris is supposed to be like the evil emperor, the evil bad guy. He does his job. He does his job. Every single moment that I thought that a genuine moment was going to happen between Alaric and Taliesin, he came and ruined it. He ruined it. But that gets me on to the point of Taliesin and Alaric, the 2 main characters of the story. Taliesin, her character building, I actually quite liked Taliesin as a character. I quite enjoyed her as a main character for this book. Alaric, personality wise, and his struggles with him being who he is versus his father I liked. However, the way that the author describes him, why does she have to keep describing him as big? We get it. He's like, for some reason, 7 feet tall. But why? I don't really read adult fiction much, or at all, so this is a very new thing for me. But yeah, I think their personalities and their struggles, I've quite enjoyed that aspect of it. But them as a pairing together, I don't ship it. I'm sorry, but I don't ship the main 2 characters together. Now, this book is a enemies to lovers. I wouldn't actually call it an enemies to lovers. I would call it they are still enemies, but they're trauma bonding. Because whatever these 2 feel for each other is not love. And I guess it just also comes from a lot of my perspective of being a Christian as well too, and understanding and knowing about pure actual love and the love for people and all of that. Romantic love, yet to actually experience that, but I don't think it's supposed to feel like this. Even talking to my mom, she was like, no, that is not love, that is trauma bonding. Any time or moment that they got together, or not necessarily got together, but like they started feeling for each other, I feel like it was very superficial, and the good moments they had together was always them just listing off their trauma. Like, oh, I have this trauma. Oh, I also have trauma that's similar. Let's bond because we have similar trauma. And then they get into arguments and start hating each other, and the next thing you know, they're kissing and sucking their faces off. That is not love. That is not love. I feel like actual proper love for someone when you love them is, for instance, listen up for this alert, sacrificing you and yourself for the other person. Not whatever he does. Not whatever he's doing. No. But I do think that they are very much definitely still enemies. As Taliesin mentions in the book before, hate is another form of passion, and I agree. I feel like whatever they have is not love passion, it is definitely hate passion, and it gets their senses high, and any passionate moments they have to each other, whether it's PG or not PG, is not love. It is definitely hate, it's definitely emotions, and it's not right emotions, if that makes sense. So yeah, I feel like if they were actually going to end up being the enemies to lovers, I feel like the lovers part would have to come after they've dealt, because like pretty much Alaric ends up becoming the emperor as a play from his dad, and she has to take up her role as crowned princess, because the Nineveh dimension, I can't say words. The Nineveh kingdom, pretty much, Dominion, that's the word, Dominion, is female run, so it's feminist. And so her grandmother, pretty much, because she's the queen, goes, well, you to stop a war, I need you guys to like get married. And they have to go through that. They also have to then train, because guess what? There's a world-ending scenario on the tip of their tongues. Like, they have to like align with each other, because she's the last light weaver, he's a powerful shadow wielder, and a massive rift in the energy space is going to explode when there's 7 moons. Yes, you heard me right. This world building has 7 moons. All eclipse, and it's essentially, when that happens, it's the end of the world, and they're trying to stop that. So they notice some sparks between the 2 of them, and they can morph their magic together to make a shield, and they're hoping that they can connect enough to make a massive shield to protect the Nineveh Dominion and the Night Empire. So that has yet to take place in the book. As of finishing the book, they've only just gotten married and it's still a couple months away till the world-ending scenario. So there's a lot of practicing and connecting and whatever that they have to do, and training and all of that to be able to make sure that they stop that. So yeah, plus the queen, Aduja, I think it is, she also did not want, because Sardovia got by the kingdom, by the Night Empire, and she didn't want that to happen to her kingdom, so she's like, we'll make an allyship with the Shadow people, the Night people, whatever they're called. They're still enemies. Taliesin and Alaric are still enemies. Whether, I think you could slowly start to feel some of their pieces feeling like they're connected. Some bits are starting to break down, but I don't think until this world-ending scenario and dealing with the Night Emperor's, his dad, the late Emperor, until those two things are dealt with, I don't think they need to heal. Before they even consider anything about love, they need to heal their trauma before they think about love. Like, I can only just imagine if they end up having like a kid in the future. One, that kid's going to be torn between two kingdoms. Two, that kid is going to be having trauma themselves from the relationship between their parents, because the relationship between them is not healthy. Not whatsoever. So, like, I think there's a lot of factors to come in place before that relationship can be healthy. So I probably would not call this an enemies to lovers. I would call it an enemies to enemies, but they do it at the end of the book. So yeah, there is a spicy scene. A lot of the times that they were interacting with each other in a love manner or passion manner, it's mostly just kissing, or like very descriptive kissing. Until chapter 38. I think it's chapter 38 because at that point I was listening to the audiobook and it was track 40 on Spotify, I think, which I think was chapter 38 on this. It just, that, I skipped through half of it, okay? I went through the chapter, like, moving up the little slider on Spotify to try and figure out where it ends. It was almost the whole chapter. And I want to unhear things. I want to, and even into the next chapter in the morning after, it's like, okay, that is too much information. No, thank you. Can we just get on with the story, please? But essentially, they weren't going to, it was the night after the wedding, the night of the wedding. Like, they've had the ceremony and they're supposed to spend the night together. They're actually just planning to sleep the whole night. As in, like, not end up together, but they end up arguing, and somehow argument turns into them doing it. Now, if that's the most unhealthiest thing I've ever heard of, then I don't know. Because how does you arguing about everything turn into you passionately? Yeah. Because I'm not going to go into detail and describe what I heard or what I know of. Because I want to try, my channel's PG. I want to try and keep it PG as much as I can. So if you're under a certain age, if you're a teen or a young adult, or if you don't like sexual stuff, I don't recommend. Or just entirely skip chapter 38. Entirely skip it. I do want to read the second book in the series because there is things and stuff that I've, like, it ended on a cliffhanger that I want to finish. I need to finish the story. I'm just hoping that there's less of it in the next book, but considering they're married now, not that I think in some stories marriage really stops that, but you know, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah. There's a reason why it's a 7 or a 6, because I'm not saying it the other way around. 7 or 6, I'm not saying those numbers the other way around, I refuse to. Out of 10. So, I feel like there could have been stuff done better. It does kind of read like she might have been an ex-fanfiction reader. If you know, you know. Ex-fanfiction writer, not reader. Or probably could be reading, because I used to read fanfiction too. And write it. It's a canon phase. It's canon, okay? It's canon. I do feel like it is a story that I could very happily draw fan art of the characters of, cosplay the characters of. Like I would love to cosplay Taliesin, and especially like in either her like uniform or her tunics or some of the outfits that is described that she and her grandmother wear. From what it sounds like, they are gorgeous. I'd love to wear them, try to draw them, either. But there are some things in the book I feel like that I could change. For instance, chapter 38. I get some people like that kind of stuff, but I don't think it really held much to the storyline. I am very much engrossed into the storyline and how things are to the story and what they add to the story. Whatever that was did not add to the story. So, yeah. I don't know what else there is to say about the book. I did enjoy reading it, or listening to it. I am looking forward to the next book and to hearing how this gets resolved. I really do hope and pray that they pray as if they're like real people, but still, that these two heal their trauma before they consider anything love. I just had the biggest like rant I had to talk about was the fact that this is labeled as an enemies to lovers when it's not. I wouldn't say that I hated the book, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite book, but I did somewhat enjoy it. I don't think I'm ever going to read a book as good as the Prison Healer series by Lynette Noni. I will probably do some reviews on Lynette Noni book at some point, because how they are not my first book review, I do not know, because I love Lynette Noni. The hat has fallen. I have been reading Lynette Noni since her first book, Akane, came out for the Madoran Chronicles. I've been reading it since then, which is what, over 10 years. I've read every single book that she's produced. I own every single book that she's got. I have yet to pre-order the new Shadow Reaper book, but I am excited for it. I've met her a couple times. I could rave so much about Lynette Noni, and I love the Prison Healer. That is a enemies to lovers done well. So yeah, I unfortunately don't think I'm gonna end up comparing everything to that book to Prison Healer, and unfortunately I'm not gonna be able to help it, but yeah, I definitely would recommend if you're over in your late mid, maybe early 20s, maybe like mid early 20s, I could probably recommend the book. Just don't go into the story expecting what it's advertised as, namely the enemies to lovers, but I feel like there's certain aspects of the book that I did enjoy and do want to know more about. I would love to have a prequel series about Taliesin's parents and how they met, by Howard Lugby and his wife Hanan, I think it is, how they met. I would love to know more about Lugby and Hanan and all of that story. I would, if you're watching this, Thea, please, can I have a prequel? I would like a prequel, please! I have yet to read the second book in the series. But yeah, I think this book came out in 2023, so that was 3 years ago now. It's 2026 of filming this. Whoa. What do you mean? 2023 was 3 years ago. Bruh. I'm literally just ranting on. I didn't actually write a review to follow. I'm just going off the top of my head. But yeah, that is my review of the Hurricane Wars. I don't know how helpful this was for some people. I do recommend, if you don't like spice, to maybe not read it, or avoid chapter 38. But yeah, it wasn't too bad in terms of my first spicy book. So, safe to say, it has solidified the fact that I don't like spice. Anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you did. I've got other reviews I've done heaps of reviews of other stuff TCGs, food, all of that sort of stuff. So go have a look. I do a lot of gaming content, so go have a check of that. And let me know if you want me to do more book reviews, because I 100% I would love to review more books. Maybe have a bit more structure in it to the future, considering this is my first one. I did pick up, if I can grab some Apothecary's light novels, because I can't wait for season 3. Season 3 is going to take forever, and I just cannot wait that long. Anyways, that is me signing off for today's video. I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye.